I think my smart doorbell is showing people who aren't actually there. I installed a new high-end smart doorbell system about a month ago after my neighbor's place got broken into. Spent nearly $300 on the fanciest model I could find, the DoorGuard Pro 4K that everyone on the home security subreddit kept raving about. It has every bell and whistle imaginable. Crystal clear video that puts my TV to shame. Night vision that makes my yard look like daytime. Motion sensors that can supposedly distinguish between people and animals. And this creepy cool facial recognition feature that announces visitors by name once you tag them in the app. For the first week, the thing worked like a dream. It would chime when the Amazon guy dropped off packages, recorded a couple of teenagers who rang my bell and ran away, real original guys, and even caught my neighbor's cat snooping around my porch at night. Money well spent, I thought. Then things got weird. About 10 days in, I started getting random motion alerts when nobody was there. Like my phone would buzz with motion detected at front door. But when I checked the footage, it just showed my empty porch. I figured it was probably just moths flying around the camera, or maybe tree shadows on windy days. The app lets you adjust sensitivity, so I dialed it down a notch and forgot about it. 3 nights ago, everything changed. I was dead asleep when my phone blared that notification sound at precisely 3:17 a.m. I groggily grabbed it, expecting to see a raccoon or stray cat. Instead, I was fully awakened by the sight of an elderly man standing motionless at my door. This wasn't some blurry figure or shadow. The image was disturbingly clear. An old man, probably in his 80s, wearing what looked like clothes from another era. A brown tweed jacket with patches on the elbows, high-waisted pants, and a newsboy cap. He wasn't moving at all, not even slightly, just standing perfectly still and staring directly into my camera with pale, unblinking eyes. My heart racing, I switched to the live view feature. Nothing. My porch was completely empty. I went back to the recorded clip and watched again. The timestamp showed he appeared at 3:17 a.m. and stood there for exactly 12 seconds before... I don't even know how to describe it. He didn't walk away. He didn't step aside. One frame he was there. The next frame he simply wasn't. I barely slept the rest of the night. I told myself there must be some technical glitch causing the system to splice in random footage or something. Maybe the cloud storage got corrupted. I even wondered if someone had hacked my doorbell as some elaborate prank. Yesterday, around noon, things escalated. I was working from home when I heard the doorbell system announce in its robotic voice, "Jessica is at the door." Jessica is my sister who lives in Colorado. I'm in New Jersey. I nearly knocked my chair over rushing to the door. The app notification showed a clear image of Jessica, smiling and waving at the camera, wearing the green sweater I got her last Christmas. But when I yanked the door open, nobody was there. I immediately called Jessica, my hands shaking so badly I could barely hold the phone. "Hey, what's up?" she answered casually. "Are you at my house right now?" I demanded. "What? No, I'm at work," she laughed. "Are you okay?" I sent her the screenshot from my doorbell. She went quiet for a long time before saying, "That's not possible. That's the sweater I'm wearing right now. How did you do this?" I didn't sleep at all last night. Instead, I sat in my living room with all the lights on, staring at my phone, jumping at every sound. Nothing happened until I finally dozed off around dawn. This morning, I woke up to my phone constantly buzzing. 37 notifications had come in between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. With a sense of dread, I opened the first one. A young woman in what looked like a 1920s flapper dress, staring at the camera. Next clip, a man in what appeared to be a Civil War uniform, standing at attention. Next, a small boy, in old-fashioned shorts and a cap, clutching a toy wooden horse. Each video showed a different person, different ages, genders, clothing styles, spanning what looked like multiple centuries. In every single clip, they stood completely motionless, staring directly into the camera for exactly 12 seconds before vanishing. The final notification was the worst. When I opened it, my blood went cold. All 36 previous people were now crowded onto my small porch together. Old, young, men, women, children, all standing shoulder to shoulder, every eye fixed on the camera. Nobody moved. Nobody blinked. After 12 seconds, they vanished simultaneously. I called the doorbell company in a panic. The customer service rep had me read off my device's serial number and ran some remote diagnostics. "Everything seems to be functioning perfectly," she said cheerfully. "No signs of hacking or data corruption. The system hasn't lost power or connectivity." That's impossible, I told her. It's showing people who aren't there. People who can't possibly be there. Her voice shifted to that patronizing tech support tone. Perhaps you're experiencing interference from another wireless device. Or maybe reflections on your door glass. We recommend resetting to factory settings, and I hung up and started frantically researching my home's history. The development company's website boasted proudly about the neighborhood's rich heritage, mentioning that the land was originally part of the Oakwood Cemetery, established in 1842. According to their glossy timeline, all remains were respectfully relocated in 1953 before construction began. I found old newspaper articles telling a different story. Protests from descendants of those buried there. Complaints that the relocation was rushed and haphazard. One article mentioned incomplete records, meaning they couldn't be certain all graves had been properly identified. I'm throwing clothes into a suitcase as I type this. My parents live about an hour away, and I've already called to say I'm coming to stay for a few days because of plumbing issues. They don't need to know the truth. Just now, as I was zipping up my suitcase, my doorbell chimed again. The mechanical voice pleasantly announced, "Previous residents are at the door." I'm not looking at the notification. I'm not opening the door. I'm grabbing my keys and leaving right now. Update. I'm safe at my parents' house now. After posting yesterday, several people asked for the footage. I tried uploading it, but every video file is corrupted. Just static and digital artifacts. When I checked the app this morning, all 37 notifications and recordings from yesterday are completely gone from my history. If the doorbell company deleted them remotely, they're not admitting it. The weirdest development. My realtor called me this morning, completely out of the blue. She asked if I was happy with the property, in a strange, tense voice. When I mentioned the doorbell incidents, she quickly said, "I wouldn't mention that to anyone else if I were you," and hung up. I've tried calling her back multiple times, but she's not answering. My parents think I'm overreacting to technical glitches, but they haven't seen what I've seen. I'm looking into breaking my mortgage somehow. Some things just aren't worth the price. My new neighbor has been digging a hole in his backyard for 83 consecutive days. When Marcus moved into the house next door back in January, I thought he seemed like a perfectly normal addition to our little cul-de-sac. He's a mid-30s guy with a neat beard, drives a sensible Subaru, and brought over a decent bottle of wine to introduce himself. Said he works remotely doing something with cybersecurity for a company headquartered in Seattle. Nothing about him screamed future neighborhood weirdo. He keeps his lawn trimmed, brings his trash cans in promptly, and even volunteered to feed my cats when I visited my mom over Valentine's weekend. Exactly 2 days after the moving truck left, the digging started. I first noticed it from my home office window, which overlooks both our backyards. At first, I figured he was putting in a garden, or maybe one of those fancy backyard fish ponds. The previous owners had left the yard pretty bare, just a patchy lawn and a sad-looking bird bath. Natural to want to spruce things up, but then days passed, and the digging not only continued, but intensified. Rain or shine, blistering heat, or that freakish cold snap we had in February. Marcus would emerge from his back door at exactly 7:15 p.m., carrying various shovels and picks. He'd work steadily, methodically, until precisely 9:45 p.m., when he'd gather his tools, carefully cover whatever he couldn't finish with a large tarp, and head inside. The hole started small, maybe 3 feet across. Now it dominates his entire backyard, a gaping maw approximately 15 feet in diameter. I can't see the bottom from my window anymore, but based on the way Marcus disappears into it each evening, I estimate it's at least 12 feet deep, probably deeper in the center. He's installed wooden supports along the sides, proper ones, not amateur hour stuff, and a sturdy metal ladder to climb in and out. When daylight saving time kicked in and it started getting dark earlier, he brought out industrial-grade floodlights on stands. About a month in, I tried the neighborly approach, leaning over the fence while he was taking a water break. "Quite a project you've got going there," I called out, aiming for casual curiosity. Marcus looked up, wiped sweat from his forehead, and smiled. Not a weird smile. Totally normal, actually, which somehow made the whole thing even more unsettling. "Just need to dig a bit deeper," he said, taking a swig from his water bottle. "The soil's been surprisingly cooperative." Every few weeks I try again, with similar results. Making good progress today, or finally getting past that layer of clay, or once, bizarrely, the depth is speaking to me more clearly now. Always polite, never annoyed by the interruption, but never forthcoming about the actual purpose. It's not just me who's noticed. The Hendersons across the street have started calling him Dig Dug behind his back. Mrs. Lipschitz at the end of the block asked me at the mailboxes if he was mentally disturbed. Even my normally oblivious teenage son has started taking videos of the daily digging ritual for his TikTok, though thankfully they haven't gone viral. Last week, Tom from 2 doors down apparently got fed up and called the city inspector. I watched from behind my curtains as the official-looking woman in the beige pantsuit walked around Marcus's yard, clipboard in hand, peering cautiously into the hole. Marcus showed her some papers, gestured enthusiastically, and even made her laugh at one point. She left after about 20 minutes, and the digging resumed that evening as usual. I ran into Tom at the grocery store the next day. What happened with the inspector? I asked, cornering him by the frozen pizzas. Absolutely nothing, he fumed. Apparently, our friend Marcus pulled permits for extensive landscaping and in-ground storm shelter construction before he even moved in. Everything's totally legal. The inspector said it was unusual, but impressively well-engineered. Yesterday marked day 83 of consecutive digging. I know because my son has been keeping a log, complete with daily measurements and crude sketches. 83 days of the same routine, never missing a single evening. Not even during that tornado warning or when the rest of the neighborhood was at the block party. Something about that milestone, or maybe the strange metallic grinding sounds I started hearing after dark, finally pushed me past my Midwestern reluctance to directly confront someone about their weird behavior. I marched over around 6:30 before he started his evening dig and rang the doorbell. Marcus answered wearing normal clothes, khakis and a button-down, like he'd just finished a Zoom call, looking for all the world like a regular guy who doesn't spend every evening digging an enormous hole. "Hey Marcus, sorry to bother you," I started, trying to sound casual. "I've been wondering for a while now, what exactly are you digging for? Or building? It's been almost 3 months straight." His expression changed then. Not in an aggressive way, but something shifted behind his eyes. He stared at me for what felt like a full minute, though it was probably only 15 seconds. I started to regret coming over alone. Finally, he spoke. "I need to reach the correct depth before it arrives." A chill ran down my spine despite the warm evening. "Before what arrives?" Marcus smiled. Again, not a creepy smile, but a perfectly pleasant one that somehow made everything worse. "You'll know when the sky changes color." Then he politely excused himself, saying it was almost time to begin, and shut the door. I spent half the night searching online for any cults or doomsday groups associated with digging or sky color changes. Found nothing concrete, just some obscure message boards with vague references to the coming shift and preparing the reception point. This morning, I woke up early to let my dog out and noticed Marcus's garage door was open. Inside, I could see what looked like large metal containers, cylindrical, maybe 4 feet tall, with strange markings on the sides, being loaded onto a dolly. By the time I'd put on pants and gone outside for a better look, he was already wheeling them toward the backyard. And I swear this isn't sleep deprivation or paranoia talking, but as the sun came up, the sky had a distinct greenish tint. Not the normal dawn colors, something else, something wrong, like looking through a filter. It lasted about 10 minutes before fading to normal blue. When I checked the local weather reports and social media, nobody else seemed to have noticed anything unusual about the sunrise. But my dog refused to go into the backyard this morning, standing at the door whining until I took him for a walk around the block instead. I don't know what to do. Moving isn't an option with the current housing market, and I'm not even sure I want to be farther away. At least here I can keep an eye on whatever's happening. I've started documenting everything with timestamps and photos, though the pictures of the green sky just look normal when I review them. Marcus has picked up his pace. When I left for work, he was already in the hole, 5 hours before his usual start time. The metal containers were nowhere to be seen. Update. It's now evening, and Marcus hasn't emerged from the hole since morning. The digging sounds have stopped. Instead, there's a low humming coming from his yard that makes my fillings hurt. Several birds fell dead on my patio about an hour ago. The sky is definitely greener now. My son can see it too. I'm packing a bag just in case we need to leave quickly. Part of me wants to look in the hole one last time, but a stronger part knows that would be a terrible idea. Has anyone else ever dealt with something like this? Any advice would be really appreciated.